Sarah and Mark had just moved into their new house with their infant son, Oliver. Everything seemed perfect until the baby monitor started acting strangely. At first, it was just static. Then, in the middle of the night, Sarah heard it. A whisper. It was faint, crackling through the monitor, but definitely there. She sat up in bed, staring at the receiver. The whispering continued, too soft to make out the words. Heart pounding, she nudged Mark awake. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. Mark groggily listened. "It's just interference," he mumbled, turning over. Sarah wasn't convinced. She crept down the hall and peeked into Oliver's room. He was fast asleep, breathing softly, but the whispering continued. It wasn't coming from Oliver. The baby monitor, sitting on the nightstand, crackled again. The whispering turned to chuckling, a dry, raspy, inhuman chuckle. Sarah's breath hitched. Then, clear as day, the monitor spoke. "He's so beautiful." Sarah slammed the monitor off and grabbed Oliver, running back to her bedroom. Mark woke up fully now, alarmed. "What's wrong?" She told him everything. He tried to reassure her, but even he couldn't explain the voice. The next day, they checked the baby monitor's frequency, wondering if it had picked up a neighbor's signal, but it wasn't connected to Wi-Fi. That night, they left the monitor on again, just to be sure. At exactly 3 a.m., it came back, but this time, the voice was clearer. "Why don't you ever leave the window open?" Sarah's stomach turned to ice. The window in Oliver's room had no curtain. It had been wide open when she checked it this morning, and she knew she hadn't left it that way. The man in the keyhole. Lisa was exhausted after a long day of traveling. She had booked a cheap, old hotel for the night. Nothing fancy, just a place to rest. The receptionist, a frail old man, handed her the key and gave her a stern warning before she went upstairs. "Room 105 is occupied. Don't disturb them. Don't even look inside." Lisa found this odd, but she nodded and made her way to room 106. The night was uneventful at first. She showered, got into bed, and scrolled on her phone. But something felt off. Curiosity gnawed at her. What was so special about room 105? Why had the receptionist warned her? She tiptoed to the door and pressed her ear against it. Silence. But then, just barely. She thought she heard breathing. Unable to resist, she bent down and peeked through the old-fashioned keyhole. What she saw made her stomach drop. The room was almost entirely dark, but she could just make out a figure standing in the far corner. Not moving, not sleeping, just standing there. Lisa jolted back, heart pounding. She rushed back to her bed, pulling the covers over herself. But she couldn't sleep, not after what she'd seen. Morning finally came, and as she checked out, she casually mentioned what she had done. The old receptionist sighed, shaking his head. "You looked, didn't you?" he muttered. Lisa hesitated. "Yes, I saw someone in there." The old man's face darkened. "That room has been empty for years." Lisa's blood ran cold. "But I saw—" He cut her off. "You saw red, didn't you?" Her breath caught in her throat. The figure, it had no features, just a deep, glowing red eye. The old man's voice dropped to a whisper. "That's the thing about them. They used to be human. But now, they can only see people who see them first." Lisa barely heard the rest of his words as she ran out of the hotel, feeling unseen eyes burning into her back.